Hey guys, so welcome to part 2 of the code along. This is where we're actually going to be doing the neat implementation in Unity 3D. So as you guys can see, we're a little bit behind. We're a couple of days ahead. It's just past the New Year's. So let's see how this goes. Now, this is a code along. This isn't a tutorial, so I'm just going to be going through it and trying to get code in and trying to implement it. But if you guys want a more detailed tutorial with less uhs and ums and more structured, then please leave comments or let me know, and I'll be happy to make one. Alright, so let's get started. This is the paper for evolving neural networks through augmenting topologies, and I'll help you guys read it. Here's the author. It's a good paper. It's a good. You guys can basically implement Neat just by reading this paper. It's really well written. Mainly, the good thing to look at is this right here, which is the genome. In Neat, we have a genome which basically acts as the DNA, which lets the graph know how the structure should look and what are the weights. So we have a genome. The genome is passed to the network, and the network is created from that genome. And whenever mutation happens, we're actually mutating the genome, and then the next generation we create the next generation's networks from the mutated genomes. Okay, so we're going to be trying to implement this, but we're going to start off with just creating a Unity environment and getting like a basic controller working. Then we'll move on to the genome, then the network, and then the genetic manager, and it's roughly that order. Okay. So before I go forward, I showed you guys the example, and I told you guys that we're just trying to fix some of the mistakes in an example, but everything will be done from scratch. So I'm going to start a new project, but I'm also going to have the code from the example open on my second window, and I'll be referring back to that code periodically. I want to make sure the codes are matching up where they should, because I take this neat library and I use it in other projects as well. So I'm trying to compare the performance of Neat to other networks. So that's why I'm making this. But I just thought it'd be a good process to record. So. So right now, here we go. This is already open for me. It's an ecosystem ML. So this is the original version of Neat that was implemented and shown in the example. Now we're going to be creating these scripts in a new project. So open up Unity Hub. Select where you want to save it. I'm going to put it in the Neat code along folder for me. You guys can save it wherever you want. Neat. Whatever. Okay, make sure it's a 3D project, even though you guys can change it. Alright, so while that goes, we can look at a little bit of the mutation for Neat. So I told you the genome is the DNA that creates, well, that's already made, but the genome is the DNA that creates this network. As you guys can see, node 1 lines up with node 1, and node 2 lines up with node 2. Sensor means input, so that's why they're getting input here. And then node 4 lines up with output. Node 5 is the hidden node, which is mutated in. And then you guys can also see how the weights line up, and this is actually very close to I believe it's an adjacency list, or an edge list, but it tells you the structure of the network. It's easy to build a network from this. And in graph theory, usually you build networks from like adjacency list and like things that are representing your graph. You know. So they have a really good explanation of the mutation process, in which the main thing is new edges can be added, right? That they just get connected and they get added to the end. So in your connection genes, a new edge, if it gets added, you just get an added connection gene, and it tells you where it's pointing and the weight that it's given, and it's enabled. Yeah. The interesting thing comes in when a new node is added, right? Because adding a new node does, to add it, you have to disable. Basically, you pick an edge that already exists, you disable that edge, and then you create two edges and a node in the middle, right? One edge connects to the from the beginning to the node in the middle, and the second edge connects from the node in the middle to the output, or the next node. So so that's what this is going on here. That's why this is grayed out. These are the gray edges are the two new edges that are added, and the 6 is the added node that comes in. Yep. Alright, so let's get to the uni part. This is so much. So I was on Manjaro earlier, and we just updated, and as you can see, it's still buggy, but it was so much worse earlier. So Unity, it works on Linux obviously, but on Windows it's a lot snappier sometimes. Also, Manjaro is not that stable sometimes. Okay. Let's get this started. We're going to delete the main camera. No, we'll leave the main camera. We're going to delete the directional light. We'll keep both. We'll keep both. That's fine. Okay, we want to create a 3D object. Call it the sphere. Call it a fish. So beginning off, our fish will be a simple sphere, which you guys saw in the example, and then in the future, moving to a 3D space or even in 2D space, we could just add a animation and fish mesh. It's not that big of a deal. Okay, let me reset that. So we're at 0, 0 right here for the fish. I'm gonna set up the whole environment first, and then we're gonna mess with it. So we're also gonna create a cube. So this is gonna be our background. And we're going to move this. Let me see where my camera is. It depends on where the camera's at -10, and it's probably facing this way. So this is 0, 0 right here. -10 is right here. We're going to move the background to 20. And then we're going to scale it 100, 100. Okay. So in the folders right here in the assets, we're going to create another folder called materials. Within materials, we're going to go ahead and create a material. And we're going to call this background. And let's add this to the object. Okay. See how it's a little teary? Yeah, that's just something we're going to have to live with for now. Let's change this to black, so we can see the background very clearly in our game. We're going to change the scale of the fish to 0.2. 0.2, that's too small. Yeah, I don't know the actual I don't know the actual values I use, because I made the Unity neat thing I showed in the previous example was done like months ago. So it's been a while since I've looked at this. And Unity, I'm using the a different version making this as well. So version shouldn't matter in this because it's just scripts. We'll see. But yeah, okay. So that's created. We're going to first of all change the directional light. We want no shadows. Directional still. We'll leave that. Go back to scene. Copy the transform of your light, and we'll move the directional. I'll copy the transform of your camera, and we'll paste that into the transform of the light. Into the transform of the light. Yep. So that your camera and your light are going to be in the same place. Right. And then we can also just make the directional light parented. I mean, make the main camera the parent of the directional light. Okay. So now whenever we move the main camera, the light will just move with it. And that looks a little bit more similar to where we were, not as colorful. So once we'll go back to materials, we'll create a material for the fish. The fish's material eventually will be affected by the speciation if we implement it. But first I just want to get the network set up and get some type of movement, you know, so we have something to look at. Let me make sure this is still pretty good. Alright, everything's still looking good, guys. We'll rename this fish. Change the color. I'm gonna make it orange. What the heck happened here? Yeah, see, it's buggy. You can work with it definitely, but it is buggy, and probably have to update. Yeah, this right here, the NVIDIA drivers. Yeah, I might have to update, and so I'll cut this off, update, come back, maybe. For right now, it's not too bad, so we'll stay with this. The only reason I'm not updating right now is because I just updated 3 days ago, and when I did it, it broke my system. It took me 3 days to get it back up. So, well, it took me, with New Year's and everything, it took me a while. So, I kind of want to just get this done and then do it. But if it gets bad enough, of course I will. So let's move this up to yellow. So it's something that's easy to be seen against the it's the black. Directional light, there's a tint of yellow. I don't really like that. We're moving it straight white. Alright. So that looks more similar to where we were. Main camera, I'm going to move that to -20. And because our light is attached to that, we don't have to worry about that. So -20 is looking good for me. I'm going to move the background and change the, I believe it's the X. I hope it's the X. Yep. Change the X to 150 and you should be good right there. Okay. So the fish is created. We're going to make a tag for the fish. Fish. Alright. So fish has been tagged. We're also going to create a new tag. Yeah, with the new Unity version, this version, I don't really know what all these weird pop-ups are, the weird warnings and the errors. So, and as long as it's not going to bother me, I'm not going to go out of my way to look for it. Once I do get hit with a wall, obviously, then we'll have to go through and do some Googling to find the solution. So, this is a code along, it's not a tutorial, so I want you guys to see the process that goes through, and, you know, and a lot of you, I'm sure, are very skilled, and you guys know the process of how it is, and if you have any tips for me, I would love to hear it. Okay. So, our background's done, fish is done, fish has the tag, not yet. There we were, fish's tag is done. Background doesn't need a tag, but we will create an empty, reset the transform, so 0, 0'd out, and then put the background into the object. Name this object static, and set static, and change the children, right? So any of our just non-moving parts like walls and stuff will go into the static folder. we'll keep the static folder up on top for now, and then we'll yes, now we have to create the wall. So we'll create another empty, and we'll call this walls. Now this empty, again, reset the transform. And now the transform is reset, we will create a cube within that. This cube has a box collider, so we should be good on that. And get the scene. Now we have to set these walls up in a way that is right outside of the camera. So from what I remember, this was about 100. Yeah, that was 100. Z will keep that at 50. Make some nice thick walls, not 20. And we'll change the X to negative 100. Oh, that's not right. Negative. That scale. Come on. There we go. 100's too much. We'll change it to 50. That looks alright. Let me see where it's at. That's fine because our fishes are not gonna move on the z-axis, so they're not gonna go in the direction my camera is moving right now. See that? So it doesn't matter that these are showing. You know, it doesn't matter that the background is not intersected with that or any of that. We're not going to have any issues. We don't even have to make the scale on Z so large. So we'll move that down to 10, and that looks good. So this is going to be our wall. Okay, and then we duplicate that wall, get wall 1, and then change that position to 50. To wall, so we're going to duplicate this again. We're going to rotate this to 90. Nah, forget it. We won't rotate it, we'll just change the scale back. Change that to 1, change this to 150. And then the position will go to 0. The top will be negative 50. 50 looks to be a little much, so we'll go negative 35. I believe that should be good. Yeah, that looks nice. The top will be negative 35, and we'll duplicate that to create the other one. Or the bottom will be negative 35, and then we'll duplicate that and create the top to be 35. Beautiful. Yeah, that looks good. So now we have something similar to what we were at, but without the food. So we have the fish. Now we got to create the food. Walls are going to be static, right? Box colliders, but static. So we'll move the walls to the static folder. All right. And our fish, we have to remember that the fish won't collide with the walls until we added rigid body. So we'll add that, but not yet. We'll add that when we get to that. We can create a new folder, prefabs folder, and add the fish to that folder. Fish is added. Delete the one that we had. Add it back in. There we go. So that's working fine. So we have our fish set up for now, and then now we'll set up the light. So we'll create a cube object, call it food, reset the transform, change the scale to 0.3, 0.3, 0.3. And we're going to add the material for the food. But for the food material, we're going to change it from standard to unlit color. Food. So now we get that nice white food. Change the color to yellow to see if it's working. You see, like there's a struggle. But yeah, okay, so let's see if this is working. Yep, foods, materials connected properly. We'll move that to a nice little slightly yellow color just so it's easy to see. Ooh, actually, I'm changing it to a nice slightly blue color. Okay. Alright, so we'll go to prefabs, put in the food. Now, things might not look exactly the same from Windows to Manjaro to whatever else. But things like this should line up. Like the shaders, you guys might see colors for the fish and color for the food, but like you guys can see that my color is being transferred over. So I delete that and I add in food. You do have the shader attached to it, so it is blue. But it doesn't show it in the prefab. It's weird. Sometimes it does. I don't know what's so. It's really weird. Anyways, okay, so that's done. Let me. Yeah, I have no idea what that is. Alright, so walls are there, background is there, food is there, fish is there. I think we're set up. I mean, yeah. Nice. So now let's move a fish back into the scene because we're going to be working on the fish's controller next.